Hello, I'm Helen Sanderson, and this is our early thinking about the detail of how a person-centred team, the wellbeing team, could provide home care support to people inspired by the Bertsoldt model. So these are the principles we're going to be using to set up the first two teams and keep learning and sharing as we go. So let's look at what this could look like for Norma and Jean. Now, this service will work equally well for people who are funding their own support, like Norma, or people who are funded by the council on a personal budget used as an individual service fund. And that means that Jean's been assessed as needing additional support, has been given an indicative allocation of funding, and it's been agreed that that will be spent as an individual service fund, which means that the team see that as a budget of money that they can use to provide Jean's support according to her assessed outcomes. So whether it's Norma or Jean, it begins with a conversation, and the team will identify somebody to go and be the lead person for Norma's support. And in this situation, it's Claire. Claire goes and meets Norma, and this might be one conversation or a couple, depending on how it works going at Norma's pace. It's a conversation where Claire learns about what's working and not working for Norma, who's important to her, and completes a relationship circle where Norma goes at the moment, really learning about what support and help Norma wants and needs, how to keep Norma at the centre of all decisions, and that might require a decision-making agreement, and if Norma has family, how they want to be involved as well. It's really about thinking about what success looks like from Norma's perspective about this service, so that she's really co-designing it with Claire. Once Claire and Norma are clear about what outcomes this service is to deliver and what matters to Norma, they then talk about self-care, whether there's any additional support that Norma wants or needs to help her invest more in her self-care, whether there's assistive technology could help Norma in the support that she wants, what the role of friends, family and community might be, and then thinking together about who can provide this support from the team. So this will be designed as what we call a perfect week for Norma, so it's really clear when she wants support and how that's going to be delivered. And because we want Norma to have the most choice and control over her service and her life, we want to go as far as we can for Norma choosing her own team. Now, Claire will have an idea about how many hours and how many team members will be required to provide that support, and look with Norma at the one-page profiles of team members who are available to see whether there's a good match, and they're matched both in geography, who can get to Norma's house quickly and easily, personality characteristics, who are the people who are likely to get on best with Norma, and then thinking about shared common interests. Another way of doing this, as well as one-page profiles, is Claire having an iPad and being able to share 1-minute summaries, little videos that each team member will have done to introduce themselves. So Norma and Claire decide that Paula, Joan and Lucy would be the best team to work to deliver Norma's service, and this is put together in a document. So it might be a care and support plan and a formalised agreement to say what's been agreed and how the budget will be spent to deliver Norma's service. And Norma will have a one-page profile that goes at the top of the paperwork. So about 2 weeks later, or even quicker, the service will start and Norma's team will be in place, delivering support when and where Norma wants it. Claire is Norma's lead wellbeing worker, and she'll be directly delivering support to Norma too and staying in touch with the rest of the team. The team will do learning logs to keep capture of what they're trying and learning as they support Norma, and doing problem solving together. And if there are any changes that need to be made to who supports Norma well, that's just simply negotiated directly with Norma, and the team arranges that themselves without having to go to anybody outside of the team. So at the first meeting that Norma and Claire had, Claire gave Norma a leaflet about community circles, saying that she'd introduce Norma to Helen, the community circles connector, who's part of the team, when at the 6-week meeting. So at the 6-week meeting, there's Claire, Norma and Helen, the community circles connector. And together they look at what's working and not working from Norma's perspective, from the team's perspective led by Claire, and start thinking about whether anything needs to change about the way support is being provided. They update the one-page profile and the other information that they hold about Norma together, and ask the question, if I would, I could, to start thinking with Norma about how she'd like her life to be different, whether that's in 6 months' time, 3 months' time, or a year's time. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that the service can deliver that outcome, but really thinking about whether this is a role for a community circle. In this situation, Norma decides that she really wants to reconnect with the faith community that she used to feel part of, and Helen negotiates and arranges to find a facilitator to support Norma and set up a community circle so that there are friends, family and neighbours also supporting Norma to live well in the community. Because this is a really person-centred service, they then ask when to review the service together again, and Norma thinks doing it in 6 months' time will be fine. However, the community circle gets going and they meet informally for coffee every 6 weeks. So 6 months later, it's the person-centred review, and Norma's team, that's Paula, Joan, Lucy and Claire, are there. Norma's circle, and that's 2 neighbours and 2 people from church, are also part of the review, and Helen, the community circle connector, facilitates this. Together, they look at what's working and not working from Norma's perspective, the team's perspective and the circle's perspective. They look at how well we're getting on in helping Norma achieve her outcome of if I would, I could, and that's being really involved in the church community again. And they rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. And of course, they update continually Norma's one-page profile and her paperwork. If Norma wants to set another outcome for herself here, again, they look at whether assistive technology can help, what the role of the circle is, and what's the role of the team. So this is a really great example of community folk working together with paid support to enable Norma to have the life that she wants. And as you can see from that swirl, this then just continues with keep meeting to review what's working and not working, the circle meeting in between time, and the team problem solving with Norma any issues that come up along the way. But how would this look for Jean with having an individual service fund? Well, actually, it would pretty much look exactly the same. With Jean, it would be looking at her assessed needs and her outcome, and how to use her personal budget, her individual service fund, to pay the staff and perhaps use assistive technology as well to help deliver the outcomes in Jean's perfect week. It would be recorded as a care and support plan, and there'd be a 2-way agreement between the local council and the team as well. In the same way as Norma chose her team, Jean would do the same. They'd still do learning logs. There'd still be the 6-week review, and the community circle would be involved too. And the ongoing person-centred review every 6 months could involve the social worker, or certainly making sure that the social worker has good information from this. And if Jean's needs change, that would then indicate that there would need to be another assessment to see whether her allocation would go up or down.